Welcome back to Ready, Set, College. I'm your host, Rob Schwartz. We've got one more segment here with our good friend Chris Ingram. Chris, there are four different resources available that we have yet to touch on, which are very commonly used by families in terms of college savings. I want to make sure we touch on those so they have an understanding of A, what the heck are these things? And B, is there an inherent value to use them and how should they be used? So let's dive into the first ones, the 529 plan and the Coverdell ESAs.
Okay, the 529 plan and the Coverdell ESA are two of the most popular, especially when clients come to me asking about saving for college. And there's a huge benefit to them. So if you put money into a 529 or a Coverdell ESA and you pull that money out to pay for college, all of your earnings come out of that account tax-free, which is great. It's a great savings vehicle for that purpose. However, there's a couple of things you need to understand about especially the 529 that not everybody is actually aware of. So we want to point these things out. First off is that if you pull money out of a 529 and it's not for college, so if your child does not go to college, and you want to take the money back, you could potentially be hit with a 10% penalty for pulling that money out. Number two, which is actually a good thing, is that if let's say you have multiple children and your first child does not go to college, you can roll that money over to another child. So it's not stuck with the child that's the original beneficiary. But one of the things we've been talking about is this formula that they use for financial aid. And a 529, if it's owned by the parent, and sometimes they want to make the child the owner. Don't do that, because we've talked about that. That's the worst case scenario. But if the parent is the owner of the 529, it could potentially count against them up to 5.6%. So it is going to have an impact on the formula and their calculation of whether or not financial aid is available. However, one thing to think about is you could make a grandparent the owner of a 529. If the grandparent owns the 529, it is not calculated on your FAFSA formula, and you don't have to worry about that asset as far as that calculation is concerned. So that's a great thing. But, and it flip-flops, if the parent is the owner and you take money out of your 529, all of that money that you take out is not going to be added back or count against you the following year when you file your FAFSA again. However, when a grandparent owns the 529 and money is taken out of that 529 to pay for college, that money does have to be added back and is looked at when you file for your FAFSA the following year. So back and forth. There's pros and cons of each side. You have to figure out which one is going to work best for you.
And how about the Coverdell ESA?
The Coverdell ESA is very, very similar to the 529. It just has lower contribution limits. The 529 allows you to put a lot more money into it. The Coverdell ESA has these limits that, and they change every year, but the limits on the amount that you're able to put into them on a regular basis.
Okay. How about the UGMA and the UTMA? I don't even know what that is, guys. Okay. That's why we bring Chris on the show.
So, Uniform Gift to Minors Act, Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. So basically what it is, you're setting up an account, you're putting money into it, but it's your child's money. Okay? You're making a gift or a transfer of assets to your child, and there's some tax benefits for doing that. I'm not going to go into all the tax benefits. That's for another segment. But when you transfer this money into this UTMA or this UGMA, most people do it for those tax benefits. But the problem is that is now your child's asset. Okay? And like we talked about in the very first segment of this show, is that 20% of that asset is going to be used against you as far as that calculation is concerned. So it's not the ideal type of account or asset to have if you're looking for financial aid. So while the tax benefits are great, most find that the penalty of it being a child's asset far outweigh the benefits of the tax benefit that you get.
So if you're like me, unlike where I'm sitting in studio hearing this information, you're sitting there and your wheels are spinning. You're like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? There's so much information. There's so many amazing pieces of information you need to be aware of. And most importantly, and I know Chris is going to agree with me here, every single situation is different.
Yes. And, you know, I say this with regards to every financial plan or every financial situation that I come across, and that is that everybody is unique and different. What works for one is not going to work for the other. Life insurance may be a great savings vehicle for college for one, but it could be an awful savings vehicle for a different client. So the most important thing I beg of you is to meet with a professional that you can trust and you feel comfortable with. Let them understand your situation. Truly understanding your situation will give them the opportunity to give you real advice on which of these tools and resources is right for you and how you should handle your situation in order to make the very best decision to give your kids an amazing education.
His name is Chris Ingram. He looks like Derek Jeter, which is kind of creepy but kind of cool at the same time.
I've heard that before.
He is a financial professional with Infinity Wealth Management. Chris, we've got your information on the screen right now, so families who are watching can reach out and ask any questions or set up a time to meet with you. I thank you again for being here and providing such valuable information. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
You guys stay right there. Don Goettling is going to be up next. Stay tuned.